Hey guys, how's it going? It's the animeoveranalyst here, and today I'm going to be doing a review of Arcane, the Netflix series that Riot put out a couple weeks ago. And I initially wasn't even going to watch it, but I fell in love with the announcement trailer and basically all the other promotions that came out with it, because Imagine Dragons is one of my favorite bands of all time. I grew up listening to Imagine Dragons and I love their early stuff. Not so much their newer stuff, not going to lie. Not so much their newer stuff, but their original Night Visions album, and even before that, some of their EP stuff. Fantastic. And I saw that they did a kind of like the promotion for League of Legends Arcane, and keep in mind, I also know that they did Warriors. In fact, that's another reason why I really got into them, was from listening to Warriors. And that was way before I played League of Legends. In fact, I've only played League of Legends a couple times. I'm mainly a Dota 2 player for the most part, although I haven't even played that in years. But for the longest time, I only played Dota 2, and then I played a little bit of League, and so I know some of the characters, and for a while I was even following like the tournaments and stuff, trying to see how everyone does, how they play their character. Like my favorite character was Thresh, for example. I love playing support characters, and I really enjoyed playing Thresh because it was a challenging character that I kind of was able to learn more. And so maybe I should get back into League of Legends. If you're curious or you want to know, comment down below and maybe I'll do some League of Legends gameplay. Maybe I'll do a channel-wide like League of Legends game, or just a channel-wide game night where I'll invite people who have subscribed to me to play games. That would be cool, I think. And so if that's something you're interested, comment about it in the description down below. And so that's enough of the intro. Let's jump into this review. So Arcane is separated into 3 acts, with the first act focusing on Jinx and Vi's childhood, kind of how they grew up. And then it progressed into phase 2, where Jinx went pretty crazy, and we got to kind of like a modern day where it's like Jinx is crazy, Jace now is like this super powerful scientist dude with Victor, and I'd say Act 2 is like the middle 3 episodes, that'd be 4, 5, 6, and that's really kind of building up to the final 3, which is where Jinx pretty much goes crazy, like full on, and shit starts going down. And so I'm going to be talking about these acts more or less individually, but I'm going to just tell you all right now, spoilers are in effect. I will be talking spoilers because I feel like that's very important and I can't get my points across without telling them. So let's start at the beginning. We get introduced to Jinx and Vi pretty much right off the bat, and they are accompanied by 2 other people, a dude named Clanker and a dude named, I think it's Milo, and the 4 of them are kind of frenzy. They're more like orphans that live under a dude named Vander, who may be Warwick, I don't know, but I kind of picked up Warwick vibes early on. Anyways, that's neither here or there. So they are trying to do this job where they're trying to gain some expensive artifacts and stuff from this random dude that Echo had followed. By the way, Echo's in this as a little kid, and I completely didn't even pick that up in the promotion trailers. It wasn't until like through the first episode where I'm like, wait a minute, I think that's Echo. So that was a nice little surprise for me, I suppose. I mean, I bet most of you League of Legends fans are like, yeah, that's Echo. Why didn't you see that in the beginning? I'm like, yeah, I guess I did it. I'm not the greatest, and like I said, it's been a while since I had played the game. Anyways, the mission goes wrong because basically the dude comes home and Jinx ends up just stealing a whole bunch of these like blue rune crystals, and one of them blowing up like literally the entire building, or at least half the building. Yeah, literally like half the building. And then the rest of the episode is like them getting away and trying to get away, and it's really interesting seeing the power dynamics from here on out, seeing the how the upper world, I'm blinking on the name, it's like Powder, no, that's literally Jinx's name, Powder. I can't remember the name of the city, but it's basically ruling over Zone. And how it works is that government officials pretty much don't touch Zone as long as Zone don't attack the main city. And prior, there was like a civil war that raged on, and a lot of people in Zone died because of it. So really, really interesting how they set up world building in this series. And I like that because this series has a lot to do with just world building in general. Now, if I'm correct, I believe that none of the events are actually canon to League of Legends. I believe. However, it seems to me that they are pretty canon. And so I'm going with a firm belief. This is my firm belief that the end results is supposed to set up to what a typical League of Legends game is supposed to look like at the very end. And when I say that, I mean that basically all the League characters, so like Singe, Warwick, although Vander does die, so he may or may not be Warwick, but like Caitlyn, Vi, Jinx, they're going to survive throughout the entire series, even through Season 2. Throughout the entire series, they're all going to survive because they're supposed to all culminate into a final League of Legends like battle map. That's my theory, and you'll notice that throughout the entire show, League characters do not die. They do not die at all. Echo, I swear, dies like 3 times, maybe twice, and he doesn't die at all. He just keeps coming back. Although Echo does have, like, I almost want to call it the time fruit, One Piece reference, because he just reverts back in time. So shout out to Echo there. But yeah, where was my train of thought? This is going to be interesting because I'm going to keep going on tangents. But basically, the whole Act 1 is literally just setting up Jinx's backstory and her connection to Vi and the rest of the orphan kids. And you get to see that the orphan kids, especially Milo, really do not like Jinx because Jinx isn't capable of taking care of herself yet. We see in the very first episode, she is afraid to jump over buildings and stuff, even though the rest of them can. I don't know how Clanker can, but he somehow can. And it's really interesting how she struggles with that, but Vi, being the older sister that she is very supportive. She's like, no, you can do it. I told you can do it, you can do it. And for a while, Jinx can. The issue is that at the end, they got ambushed by a couple of goons, and Jinx just took off running because she didn't know what to do. And instead of risking her life, she decided to throw the jewels into the sea. So, no, it wasn't the gems. It was all the other artifacts. My bad, because she actually held on to the jewels. She had a little pouch, and she kept it secret from everyone except Vi, which is also super important because it kind of shows how she was able to use those gems and harness their power later on. So we get to see this kind of rift forming on into the group, and it's mainly because of Milo, because he can't shut his big mouth. And even then, like, Vi opposes him and opposes everything because she cares for Jinx. And I love this relationship that Vi has with Jinx. up until the very end, when even Vi's like, I've got to protect Jinx and the rest of the kids. And so she goes and sacrifices herself, basically. She offers herself up to be the person to take the blame for the incident, because she kind of is, actually. Low-key, she is. And Vander was even going to go around along with it, except he noticed how depressed Jinx was and was like, nah, Jinx needs her older sister more than she needs me. And so he went and tried taking her spot, and then some dude comes and just murders everyone because logic? No, actually, it wasn't even just because of logic. It's because Vander's brother, Silco, shows up, and he wanted to pretty much tear Vander apart. It was like this huge revenge scheme where it wasn't just to kill Vander, because if he killed Vander, that would have made Vander a martyr. No, what he wanted to do was take out Vander and the rest of the orphans to make it look like, oh, they just hopped out of town, they don't care about everyone, screw everyone. And so Silco is very cunning, and I like that in a villain. He's got intelligence. And as I was watching the show, I kept making mental notes. When you make a show, when you write a novel, when you do something with art, and that you have a protagonist and an antagonist, you gotta let your antagonist win. You can't have your protagonist win all the time. And you see here why this show is highly praised. The antagonist won. Not just once, but several times he won. Basically what happened was he had finally kidnapped Vander, and everyone went to go and save him. And they tried leaving Jinx behind because Jinx can't handle herself. And it's a very, very dangerous mission. I don't blame Vi at all for leaving Jinx behind, because up until that point, Jinx hadn't been able to take care of herself, which Jinx struggles with, and she hates that feeling. And Milo, being the asshole that he was like, oh, we were able to do all sorts of stuff when we were Jinx's age. You know, she can't do the things that we can, which is so daunting on a child. And I get it. She at that point didn't have something that can carry her own weight. Now, they did show her shooting at that point, and she was like a huge shot. She was really, really good at shooting. And so, if they were smart, they might have been able to make her do some shooting stuff. But, you know, as orphans, as kids, I gotta let it slide, because they may not pick up on things like that. Now, if they were more adults and they didn't pick up on, hey, this person can actually shoot, you know, maybe we're not supposed to put them on the front line. You know, things like that. If they were adults, you know, I expect adults to think things through better. But here, they're kids. They're not thinking things through better. They all have tunnel vision, dude. And I can't blame them. You know, they're living in poverty. They're trying to find a better way for their lives. They're trying to get better in their lives. And it's just, shit always happens, and they can't get away from it. And so basically, Silco lured the kids into a trap, minus Jinx, because Jinx didn't go initially. And even then, it was going to be Vi taking on everyone. And let me tell you, Vi is such an amazing character. I love how badass she is and how believable she is. Because I've always struggled watching these type of shows where they really try to portray a badass female character, and it becomes unbelievable. Like, here, I believe it, because we literally see her, as the show is progressing, taking on and challenging herself in boxing. You can literally tell boxing is her thing, and you could see her train and struggle with it, and how she uses to implement it. Very, very well done storytelling. There's a lot of story-based storytelling in this show. A lot of things that they show and don't tell. And I wish I could say all of those things, but it's just one of those where it's like, after watching it a couple times, you got to be like, yeah, I see that. I can see that now, and I can see why this may lead to that, lead to that, lead to that. And so it's really, really cool, just kind of the context clues that you get to pick up in this series, because it's just so rich with detail. Anyways, that aside, everyone tries to save Vander, and they almost succeed. That's the crazy thing. Like, literally, they almost succeed. Vi was able to repel all of Silco's goons and jump into the room. They managed to break Vander free. They managed to bust a hole in the wall behind him so that they can all escape. And then Jinx shows up thinking she can save everyone. And she has great intentions. That's the amazing thing. She is so pure as a child. She has so many good intentions. But no one can take her seriously because they always end up going wrong at the worst times. Her great intentions was to take one of those stones that are very highly volatile. And she literally had one of those robot monkeys doing the whole clappy thing. And it basically made the crystal explode. And by doing so, ended up killing Clanker and Milo. Which, those deaths, holy cow, were they hard to watch. Those were that was a really, really hard to watch moment. Because at that point, you're sitting there and you're like, oh, they almost had it. They almost were able to do it. And it was because they didn't have Jinx. That's the whole problem. Jinx literally got her name because she jinxes the missions. And that was the whole thing that Milo came up at first. And he was like, bleh, 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 bleh. Yes, that's a very technical professional term for I'm an asshole because she jinxes things. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. Anyways, Vi listens to that. And at one point, even before that, Jinx confronts her and was like, you know, you just think I'm a Jinx and all that thing. And Vi's like, no, totally not. You are Powder. You are my little sister. Don't listen to that bad-mouthed Milo dude. Just ignore him. And then all this explosion stuff happens. We have Vander dying. We have Clanker dying. We have Milo dying. And there is just like, what else can Vi do? Vi's feeling very hopeless because they almost escaped. They almost made it. They were so close. And then the explosion went off, killing everyone, basically. And so she takes it out on Jinx. They all made it outside, where Vander finally ends up dying. And Vander tells Vi to take care of Jinx. And Vi immediately goes and like punches Jinx in the face, going like, you fucked up. You fucked up so bad. And now all these people are dead. And then she runs away. And that just tears at Jinx, because Jinx has the best intentions. She had it so much. And at that point, she just has this mental breakdown. And I was sitting there and I was like, okay, this voice actress is amazing. Like, hearing her break down like that, and I'm just sitting there like, I'm at a loss for words. It's just so amazingly animated, just watching her do this ugly cry. And it's not pretty. It's not a pretty cry at all. It's super ugly. And that's the point. And it's just so well done how they do it. And Jinx cries a lot throughout the first three, and you could just see every time she does it, she just gets worse and worse and worse until this point where she's just a huge mess. And then Silco shows up and takes in Jinx, saying like everyone left her, because everyone did leave her. Now Vi, she left her immediately, but then saw Silco and wanted to turn her around and save her, but then got gassed and sent away to prison. So I can't blame Vi too much, but she did leave Jinx, even at least initially. So Jinx has every right to feel like everyone left me. And then here we go, Silco, who's like, you know what? They all left you, but I will take care of you. And it gives this kind of weird human side to Silco, just a little bit. And you're sitting there like, he's so evil that he's manipulating Jinx. But in a way, he also has this kind of, I'd almost want to say love for her just a little bit. I think he pities her a little bit because of what happened between him and Vander, where Vander almost killed him, but didn't. And from that point on, Silco became who he was. Same deal with Jinx, where Jinx, in his eyes, was born again at that moment. Powder had died and Jinx was born. But what was really cool was that Jinx was talking to Vi later on, and he's like, Silco, with all of his soliloquies and monologues and yada yada yadas, said that I became Jinx that day, and he made me Jinx, or I made myself Jinx. And he's like, no, he's so wrong. You, Vi, you made me Jinx. And I'm like, ooh, it's true, but that also hurts so much. And poor Vi, she has such good intentions. And that's the thing, is that almost all of these characters have good intentions. They're just poorly executed, which I honestly think happens more often in real life than people give credit for. I hear so much about maliciousness from this person to this person, like this person's evil, or this person's evil, or this type of people are evil, or, you know, this here, this, that, and I keep sitting here and I'm like, how often do you actually listen to the other side? And I think that's kind of the issue, or like a central theme to this show, is people don't listen to the other side. We have this huge council of people who only listens to themselves. They don't even bother with Zone, and the people in Zone can't communicate with the other these upper people because of this huge wall of distrust between the two, and just the fact that the council never ventures down there. So it's fascinating just seeing the power struggles and thinking, you know what? This is very similar to what's going on right now in reality, what's going on in real life. Just the various power struggles between the class systems, the haves versus the have-nots, where I genuinely think the haves do mean well. They mean super well. They're just egotistical and oftentimes are very blind to what they have. But same thing with the have-nots, where they think the haves are evil or they're manipulative or whatnot. And I'm like, maybe not. Now, I'm not saying that everyone's like that, but I think we don't give each other the benefit of the doubt enough. And that's just me coming from, I guess, a naive place. But I find it super hard to find maliciousness in people. I really personally do. I don't think anybody's evil. I think they may have their own priorities. I think they may be selfish at times. And maybe they're only looking for themselves. But I do think that a large majority of people have good intentions. It's just what they believe is good intentions differ from what other people believe is good intentions. And I think that's a huge moral of Arcane, is just trying to listen to each other, and how that doesn't work sometimes, or just what happens when you force this kind of disconnect and then violence erupts. And like I said, a lot of it is focused on like the higher ups, not even trying to establish connections to the have-nots. But there's also the theme with the have-nots where the people of Zone are attacking themselves. They're not even trying to establish a connection, except for Silco. If you think about it, Silco's goal in the end is, I want to liberate Zone. I want it to be a free and independent state, free from the oppression from the main city, whose name I keep forgetting. And so, in a way, that is pretty honorable. The problem is he's going about it all wrong. And I won't say he's going about it through all wrong, but he's going at it in a way where the second that Zone gets independent, he's going to control over everything and pretty much establish himself as a dictator. And that's not going to solve the oppression that's going on in Zone, because at that point, it's its own people oppressing themselves. And that's just such a fascinating type of deal where it's like, who are the real oppressors? The people who you think are oppressors, or is it yourselves oppressing yourselves? It's so fascinating, and I like that kind of idea. And this is just stuff that I'm picking up throughout the series. So that's pretty much how the first act ends. And I've already talked a little bit about the second act, and the third act and how they interact with each other. But just the way that Vi gets out of prison because of Caitlyn, who is I will say, I'm not sure about Caitlyn's character at all. And this is coming from someone who actually usually mained Caitlyn whenever I had to take a main support. Or not a main support, but a carry role in League of Legends. I used to main Cait. And just watching the show, I'm sitting there, I'm like, Caitlyn doesn't have a character. She seems pretty useless. Honestly, I felt like Caitlyn was pretty useless in this show. That's kind of my biggest, cringe towards the show. It's just like, I wish Caitlyn did more. She set Vi free, which is cool. She went off on her own to try and solve the whole mystery behind Jinx and who Jinx is and why Jinx is killing all sorts of people and this and that. So I like that. But then it was like she broke Vi out of jail and then instantly became a backburner because the show focused more on Vi, which it has every right to do. But then it just felt like Kate was just missing. So that's my quick little gripe with Kate. And they tried developing this interesting relationship between Vi and Kate, and I liked it. I wasn't sure where it was going. I wasn't sure if it was like a friendship or a romance. I was very confused about that. It might have just been more of a reference to the Warriors music video from 2000, where they both teamed up to take down Urgot. Maybe, I don't know. But I always thought that Caitlyn was supposed to hook up with Jace. It felt like in the first couple episodes that was what they were trying to gear towards, was that Jace and Caitlyn were going to be a couple. And then that didn't happen. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. Jace is a very interesting character all into itself, and I might make a separate video just talking about Jace, because this video has gone on long enough. But basically, the whole dynamic between Caitlyn and everyone else is just sitting there. It's like, she doesn't even do anything in fights. She saved Vi once, and that was about it. So I just wish they did more with Caitlyn. Alright, so I'm running on to about 30 minutes here, so I'm going to end this review here. I might make a part 2, honestly, because this mainly just covered part 1, or act 1 of the series, and obviously there's still more to talk about. And so if you're interested in a part 2, put it down in the comment section down below, and we'll see where we go. And before I go, I just want to shout out my Talking Nerdcore podcast. I'm going to have an episode coming out tomorrow featuring Night of Breath, we talked about Saiki Kuso, and it's a fun anime that I recommend everybody just watch at least a couple episodes of. You don't have to watch the whole thing because it's a slice of life anime. So you could just pick random episodes, and if you don't like those random episodes, then Saiki Kuso really isn't for you. But it's a fun anime, and we both just had fun just talking about it and gushing over it. So if you're a fan of Saiki Kuso and you're like, man, why aren't people talking about it at all? We became those people. And then anything else. I've been playing Nier Automata. I've been streaming those on Twitch. You can follow my Twitch here. So if you're interested in me playing League of Legends, for example, and you think that would be cool as well, you know, doing that whole followers or subscribers kind of game night deal, follow me on Twitch. With all that being said, thank you all so much. I'm the Anime Overanalyst, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.